Happening, everybody? Rafer
Hey,
Palmer, Rahul Iyer, world's greatest divorce podcast, the I Just Want This Done divorce podcast, coming at you live at 5x5, as they say in the military, with communications. We are in the Shy, as WGCI, one of our stations in Chicago. Their motto used to be "We Run the Shy," which I loved. It was on billboards,
oh, that's cool.
and now we run the Shy. So watch out. So anyway, we also have billboards up at 290, 294 interchange. By the way, how smart, successful people get divorced in Chicagoland. STG Divorce Law, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's get to it. You've been waiting patiently since the last show because you're a big fan and you watch every episode. Thank you. And like, share, and subscribe, by the way, to the I Just Want This Done divorce podcast. With me, as always, my co-host, Rahul Iyer, fabulous dresser and impresario, and yours truly, Rafer Dalton Palmer, the only divorce lawyer with 3 names living in LaGrange Park, Illinois. So I'm not sure. we'll make it up. The world's #1 divorce podcast, as rated by us. So we got a fully loaded show today, which proves why it's the world's greatest divorce podcast. Today, we are talking about a bunch of interesting stuff. We are going to tease and please, as we like to. So here we go. We're going to go from the back to the front. So you know what you should wait for.
Right.
All right. So don't skip any part of this one today, folks. So 2 ways to start expressing your needs in your relationship. Good. Got relationship advice today. 7 signs someone is unhappy in a relationship. Also good to know. Remember, folks, we are the pro-marriage divorce lawyers. We want you to stay married. A good marriage is better than a good divorce any day of the week. We are busy enough. Try to stay married if it's working for you. The Tinder Year and Swipe 2025 report is out. Rahul's going to talk about that. We've got an interesting comment we got from X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, with a request to discuss a topic about why are divorce rates down. Our people are using AI to resolve their divorces, not lawyers, individual, regular people. There's an article on that to talk about our thirst traps grounds for divorce. We're going to discuss that. Channing Tatum split issues and talking about divorce split with Channing Tatum. Some facts, interesting legal stuff about that. And woman shocked after partner of 25 years demands prenup. And that's an interesting story we're going to get into. And to lead off the show today, which we'll start with, Kandi Burruss, can Tucker win versus a prenup? Okay, let's get rolling. So we're going to jump right in. Rahul, how are you today?
Excited. We got a fully loaded show, and I'm great.
Good.
Let's
I'm
go.
glad. Let's do it. So without any delay, why Todd Tucker has a chance to win in divorce battle, according to experts. Well, they didn't talk to me, so they didn't talk to us.
Not every expert,
they
I
didn't
guess.
talk to all the experts. By the way, ethically, we can't say we're experts. Hold on one second, please. Sorry to interrupt here. Let me mute this. Thought somebody wanted to talk to me. Okay, we're good. So this is from Us Magazine. This article just came out recently, a couple days ago. And it says, why Todd Tucker's chance to win. Now, we always talk winning has got to be in quotes because does anybody really win in divorce? Not usually. I guess you say if the person wants the divorce, they're winning in that they're getting free from a marriage they don't like. But divorce can be very destructive, as we all know. So I was intrigued by this headline. And the title, the article says, Kandi Burruss's estranged husband, Todd Tucker, might have a fighting chance at winning his prenup agreement in their ongoing divorce, but it's tricky, legal experts warn. We ethically can't say we're experts, by the way, in our state of Illinois ethics rules. And this is a quote from a divorce lawyer. Said, anytime a person signs a prenup days or hours before the wedding, they're creating an argument to be made later that they were under duress or undue pressure to sign the document. She noted this legal argument only holds weight if Tucker can prove his argument meets certain factors. While she believes Tucker had, quote, ample time and opportunity to call his lawyer before signing the prenup ahead of their wedding in 2014, Davis said, in rare chance that Kandi's lawyer fraudulently asserted that Todd's attorney signed off on the terms of the prenup, when they had not, it might be a chance to win. That's convoluted. The fact that Todd had an attorney on retainer, was discussing the prenup with him for months preceding the wedding, makes his argument a losing one. So this is like this. Anyway, then they talked to another lawyer who's not involved in the case, said it could come down to unaired Bravo footage that Burris is using in their divorce battle. Georgia requires full financial disclosure, voluntariness, and absence of coercion in prenups. Now, that's pretty similar across the 50 states, right?
You mostly, I can't think of a single jurisdiction where that's not a requirement.
Yeah. And it's part of most states have signed on to the Uniform Premarital Agreement Act, UPAA, which has this stuff in it. And they do some slight variations, but it's disclosure and then typically undue duress. So it's laying out all your financial stuff and then, assets and liabilities and income. And then the duress has to be really pretty outrageous, right? So the wedding related footage might be significant. If the footage depicts Candy or her family exerting undue pressure, setting last minute deadlines, this is a quote, or presenting the prenup under emotionally charged circumstances, Todd's argument can be persuasive. So we have something we don't usually have, which is apparently video of the prenup interactions, not the signing, right?
Or the days leading up to the prenup, or how it's being presented. But again, if he had an attorney on retainer, I still think it's a large thing to climb.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it says, if the footage suggests he didn't fully understand the terms, didn't have a realistic opportunity to consult counsel, or rushed into signing, Georgia courts might view those factors as weakening the enforceability. He's going to have to prove involuntariness. So I guess what I want to say is you'd have to, even with video, you're going to have to show something pretty extraordinary, right, in the footage to get a court to think that this guy somehow was hoodwinked into signing a prenup.
Exactly. And you have to make sure it wasn't edited in a weird way, like reality TV typically is, to sort of create dramatization where it doesn't exist.
Yeah, you're going to need a chain of evidence thing, which is what we talk about. You need somebody to testify that the footage was unedited, that the stuff they're looking at is the raw material. Otherwise, they could say this thing was edited and chopped up to make it look different. And it says the star, I guess Candy, stated, she's from Real Housewives of Atlanta, for those of you playing the home game. She alleged that he audibly announced that he was, quote, good to sign the prenup during a private encounter with her, and after talking to his lawyer on and off camera. That's a quote. There's a custody fight going on. And the thing is, I don't know how a celebrity or a guy marrying a celebrity argues he's like surprised by a prenup. That's standard issue in this world.
Right. And if you have an attorney and you've signed it, I mean, I think you're going to have a hard time proving duress, irrespective of what may have been said leading up to it.
Exactly. This is why these headlines are misleading. It's like clickbait, like, oh, he's got a chance to win. And Rahul and I were just talking about this before the show. There are lawyers who will tell people they do a consultation and there's a prenup involved. And I'm not saying that lawyers have bad intentions, but some of them will say there's a difference between a chance to win and a chance. Okay. Is it an 80% chance? Is it a 5% chance? Right? Rahul, what would you say is that if you would guess on average the chance of success at knocking out a prenup, would just ballpark it for the listeners, what would you say is the chance at knocking out a generic prenup?
Oh, probably 0 to 5%.
Right. Yeah. Realistically, they're generally bulletproof. And you got to show something really out there. The undue duress thing, people just go, well, I was pressured because I signed it a day before the wedding. That's not undue duress.
Nope, it's not.
If you've got a lawyer and stuff like that, you've been, even if this thing's dropped in front of you a few days before a wedding and you sign it, you have an opportunity to get an attorney to talk to you or whatever. And there's just financial disclosures. You always have the opportunity to not get married. That's the thing. This is a voluntary act. Nobody's forcing you to go to get married. So
exactly.
Courts really have trouble with overturning prenups. And it's done fighting the prenup or challenging the validity is a tactic used by lawyers to create uncertainty and generate cost to help batter the other side into submission, to say, look, we're going to keep fighting over this issue and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So why don't you just negotiate something better?
Exactly. Just give me a better settlement and we'll just go our separate ways. You're going to end up spending more than what I'm asking for anyway.
And that was what was going on in the Costner case for a while, until they kind of realized with that poison pill, they were getting into trouble. And we've talked about that in many episodes early on in the show, in the history of the show. If you watch the first several episodes or look through them, we talk about Costner's prenup and how ultimately it held up. And so it's the chances of this guy being successful, in my opinion, are slim and none. But the video would have to be something really damning in the video. But even then, I don't know how this guy claims he's like clueless about what's going on here. So anyway, interesting story. And it brings up this issue of, are prenups it's something you can overturn? And generally speaking, they aren't. And the chances are slim. And I just feel bad when a client will talk to us and say, well, this other lawyer told me there's a chance, or they litigated prenup for a long time and then come to us and they're frustrated and they say, well, my lawyer said there was a chance. Well, there's chances and there's chances.
Yeah, well.
And I don't like pumping people full of sunshine when I don't think I can deliver. In our firm, that's not our philosophy.
Yeah, there's a chance I'll win the Powerball and become, an overnight billionaire. There's a chance. You want to know how slim that chance is?
Exactly right. So tell us about, now this is really interesting because we got another prenup story, Rahul. So this rolls beautifully into this next story. So
great segue.
We came across this one and we had to tell you about it because it's amazing. So, because it ties into a bunch of things. So tell us about this story. And I want to like riff on this because there's a lot here.
Yeah, so this is from the Dave Ramsey show. I guess it's a People magazine article. Essentially, title is Woman Shocked After Her Partner of 25 Years with whom she shares 4 kids demands prenup because he's now worth millions.
By the way, not married for 25
not
years.
Not married. They raised 4 kids. And he, I guess, they brought up the topic of marriage. She must have brought it up. And he says, sure, I'll get married. You got to sign a prenup. By the way, during these 25 years, I've created or I've grown my business that's now worth millions of dollars.
Yeah.
She's like, but I've sacrificed my career to raise these kids. And so she goes on the Dave Ramsey show and he's like, essentially, sorry, he got a great deal and you didn't. So you should have brought this up a long time ago.
Yeah. And you decided to stay with this guy. You chose to have babies with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Let him get away with not marrying you for 25 years. And now you want to get married and you're mad that he wants a prenup?
Exactly. He's like, that ship has sailed once you started having kids and you didn't do anything about it. Essentially is what it kind of says in the article there. Is it's like, it's sad. It's sad all around because she's like, I would have never done this. But at the same time, you didn't do it.
Right.
For 25 years. And I don't know why now she wants to quote unquote get married after, 25 years of everything. If there's nothing wrong with your relationship and you've been together 25 years, that's longer than a ton of marriages these days.
A whole lot of marriages, right?
And you have 4 kids. Why now do you want to get married? That's a real question.
Probably financial security and all that. And she's worried this guy can walk out the door. And I talked to a potential client not long ago. Similar thing, dated for a long, long time, dated for like 9-10 years. Now she wants to get married. And this guy's kind of like, okay, sign this. It's a monster prenup that's totally one-sided. And I'm like, well, what leverage do you have? He's holding all the cards. You want to marry this guy. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it.
He's telling you, I don't need you. In a way, he's like, look, sign it or else. He doesn't. So you got to be careful. And I've said this all the time and I get in trouble I think I get in trouble for this. It's okay for women to make ultimatums.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
That's the only leverage. I'll leave. And if it's worth it to them, you'll do it or you won't.
And the reason women don't is they're worried the guy's going to call the bluff, or not the bluff, but the guy's going to say, okay, you're welcome to go. Mm-hmm. So when a woman knows she's got the guy's attention and he wants to be with her, that's when you exercise your leverage. And you say, okay, we're getting married. And
exactly
after X amount of time, the guy knows you're okay with it. you lose that leverage after 1 to 2, 4 years, 5 years, 25 years. What's new now?
Nothing. And that ship has literally sailed, or metaphorically sailed, but literally, because
Yeah.
you cannot now go back in time
Right.
and do it. There's just no answer. And so this poor lady is now sort of stuck. She's obviously poisoned the well to some extent by saying she wants to get married and had this conversation where he says sign a prenup. So now that relationship soured a little bit,
Right.
but she's got nothing to show for it. He doesn't owe her anything. Maybe the kids are close to aging out, so there's no child support involved. They just go their separate ways.
I mean, that's rough. But I get it. And then this ties into like common law marriage and other things where people are like, well, I've been with you for 25 years. Well, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, and there are only 8 common law marriage states, folks. Only 8. And
Mm-hmm.
you get certain rights after you're together X amount of time in those states. Illinois is not one of them. Just being with somebody X amount of time earns you absolutely nothing. So the marriage law, people divorce and they, getting married, they actually diss marriage. Marriage is terrible, blah, 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 because you have to get divorced. Well, that's like saying cars are terrible because people get in accidents. Well,
Right.
There's utility in marriage. And I'm not talking about the religious aspects and the moral aspects. I'm talking about the legal utility of getting married. It protects people's rights.
Mm-hmm.
Is exactly what you said. You're going to have children for this guy, with this guy. You're going to bear his children. You are going to make sacrifices, et cetera, et cetera. You get protected by the law for making those sacrifices. Now, I know guys are going to get mad at me and say, what did she do all these years? I made all the money, blah, blah, blah. And nowadays, a lot of the women make the money, or it's equal or close enough.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Both people are wage earners. But a lot of times the wage gap is because women typically stop and have children for a while. Well,
and they kind of stunt their career. Yeah.
Yeah. They slow down, they make a little less money, whatever it is. But in any event, they're taking some risks because if the guy dumped them, they're out of luck. And they've traded X number of the best years of their lives and had children and slowed their career down for some other guy. Also for themselves, to be honest, it was good for them too.
Sure.
But it's like, yeah, if you don't get married, you get nothing. So the marriage laws there's a pro to that side, and it protects people and it defines the relationship. It creates property rights and estate rights that you don't otherwise get. If somebody dies, there's an estate right for the married person.
Right.
You don't get those There's also some protections related to real estate. You have homestead rights where somebody can't sell the home out from under you. And without being married, you don't get any of that. So people, when they say, well, I'm in a long-term relationship and it's just as good as being married, it's not. It's quantitatively and qualitatively not.
Emotionally, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not, by the way, not judging whatsoever. Everybody's got their deal. And, my dad always says, if they didn't like it, they wouldn't be doing it. And
right.
Boy, is that ever, he's been telling me that when I was a kid, if I complained about something, if you didn't like it, you wouldn't be doing it. We're not in a prison camp. So anyway, I'm getting philosophical, but the long and short of it is the ship has sailed, like you said, for this lady to do this. And you just be forewarned. If you're willing to be engaged in perpetuity, I can say that 3 times fast, and you're not going to hear this, then you're taking a big risk, because one day the guy can serve you with eviction papers and throw you out of the house. Even if you had kids with them, get out.
Oh yeah.
We're done. And then they'll pay child support, but that's it. And college expense contribution, then they're done. And it's like, there is a point that you have maximum leverage, and that's when it's time to exercise that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what people have done historically forever. And there's a balance.
It's usually before having kids.
Yeah. There's a balance in all things. And anyway, I digress. Thank you for listening to my TED
So that's
talk.
interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
What do you think about that?
No, I agree exactly. I mean, I think you have to essentially look out for yourself, as exciting as it might be, as much as you expect the best in people, that those things change over time, and you might not want to get married initially.
Yeah.
But just from purely a dollars and cents or a numbers perspective, if you want to make sure you have your belt and suspenders regarding your financial security for the future, if you realize you're not going to be as financially secure as this person, and I mean, she couldn't not know that this guy was growing his business, right? I mean,
Right,
what does
of
he do
course.
every day?
Right.
It's not like he's again an overnight Powerball billionaire.
Yeah, and they move into a nicer house and they bought a BMW
Yeah,
or
she
whatever.
knows what's
Yeah.
going on, and
Right.
they've had 4 kids, so at some point, after your first kid, even say, hey, you know what? Before we have more kids, let's get married, or
Well, and
something.
this guy's got to be thinking, why now? Why are we
Sure.
interested in getting married 25 years in? The guy's got to think this can only be financial. We're done having kids.
Right.
So is she
Exactly.
planning on dumping me after we get married and then I'm done? I mean, that's got to be what this dude's thinking.
Well,
And
it would be really
you
like
know,
an alimony play, right? Because
yeah.
property-wise, even if they get married now, even without a prenup, everything he's
thank
got
you,
is
'cause he's got the
non-marital.
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Great point, ladies and
So
gentlemen. This lady's not going to get any of his. Thank you, Rahul. Great point. If they get married, she doesn't get anything that came before the marriage. It's an alimony play strictly.
and if it was a common law marriage state, they'd already be married. So
Yeah.
theoretically. So again, I think it's just a strictly alimony play, and so he's doing a prenup as just sort of to say, hey, probably don't come after my stuff, but
Yeah.
also alimony will be restricted, which would be a good one because if he's got $1 million or several multi-million-dollar business, his income is probably commensurate with what he is
Right.
generating. So
Well, and then one thing for the boys, because I know I sound like I'm all like female biased here, but I'm going to go the other way here real quick. You don't have to get married. They ask, you could say no, and then she moves on and you find another lady. That's fine. Also, everybody can ask for a prenup. That's when people say, "Oh, divorce is terrible." Blah blah blah. Well, get a prenup. That's why we want prenup. That's why we say we want prenup. Get a prenup, like we're talking about, and you'll limit your risk dramatically. So anyway, that's trying to we'll look at both sides of this thing. So okay, moving on. Let's talk to. This is tying to our prenup theme. This is a Channing Tatum story. Was he in Magic Mike? Was he in that one? I did not see it. I promise.
yes, that's your on your favorites list on your.
Oh yeah, how'd you
on
get
your
my
streaming.
Netflix queue? Stop on my Netflix queue. Channing Tatum and Jenna Dewan. I don't know her. Very attractive lady. Divorce settlement wasn't public, but now we've got a financial nugget from how it played out. They're getting a chunk of the other's retirement plans. According to new legal documents obtained by TMZ, this is a TMZ story, by the way. Thank you to TMZ. Stories, as always, in the show notes, links to these stories. Channing and Jenna signed off on a 50% split of the other's retirement benefits from the SAG, the Screen Actors Guild Producers Pension Plan. I don't think a lot of people realize Screen Actors Guild is a union, and they have union benefits, including a pension. It's unclear how much that slice of pie is actually worth. The documents say benefits are calculated by dividing pension credit earned during their 2009 to 2018 marriage by the total earned. Now, what do we call that, Rahul, in Illinois? That formula.
The Hunt formula.
That's right. And so what's interesting is this. They finalized their divorce in September 2024, 6 years after she filed to end the marriage. Jeez, that's forever. They previously decided to split assets. They settled on child support. And apparently they finally got these documents straightened out. But here's the points I wanted to mention about this story were, Rahul, first, why don't you explain for the listeners the Hunt formula with regard to retirement accounts? And apparently it's the same scoop, probably with a different name in California.
Yeah, it's a formula that really was the reason it's called the Hunt is not for any sort of philosophical reason. That's just the name of the case that sort of where the courts, I guess, the higher courts laid out or affirmed, whatever the case might be, the way that this should be calculated. You're really taking a percentage, whatever the percentage might be, of the marital portion of, in this case, a retirement. So
Right.
if you're married a total of 10 years and you've been working at your job for 20 years and your spouse is supposed to get 50%, you're really taking 50% of 50%.
Half of half, right.
Which is 25%. So that's really, in essence, the Hunt formula.
That's right.
So you kind of take the total number of years worked as the denominator. The numerator would be your total years of marriage,
Yep.
and it has to be either the same or obviously less. So you'd have a percentage, and then take that percentage, which would be the marital portion, multiply that by whatever the equitable allocation is, usually 50-50 for retirement,
Yep.
unless the court or you guys have agreed to a different percentage. And that is the percentage. So 25% of your pension would be going to the other person. So,
And this is done with pensions, 401ks, things of that nature. So the important thing is pensionable years, not only before the marriage, but after the marriage, stay in the pocket of the person who earns the pension. The marital portion is the part that's being divided. So if you continue to put money into your pension afterwards, like you do 30-year career, 10 years in the middle is the marital portion. That's a 1/3 ratio, 10 years out of 30. So then you're dividing half of let's say 50-50 of a third. Then the question that also gets asked typically is, well, why are they both giving each other a portion of their pensions? Well, that's because it's virtually impossible to accurately calculate what that share is worth, because it's a future interest.
Yep.
They're not earning the money now. It's sort of speculative as to what it'll be worth down the road. They can get some estimates.
People value them with some reasonable sense degree of certainty, but it's never 100% accurate.
Yeah. So typically best practice is to do it this way, where each of them gives the division of the pension plan, and they exchange it. And she's going to get a check as a part of his plan. He'll get a check from her plan down the road. And normally we see this with firemen, police, teachers, like in our state in Illinois, where you'll get a portion of a pension plan. You'll get a check as if you're a beneficiary. The ordinary beneficiary doesn't write you a check. You become basically an alternate beneficiary on the plan, and you get checks directly from the state when the time comes. So that's how that works. So anyway, I thought it was an interesting story, because people would say, like, well, why are they exchanging their pensions? Why is it going two ways? Can't they figure out the math? And the other issue is they must not have a prenup, because they're sorting out all this stuff the old-fashioned way. So
right.
That's the scoop on that one. Let's see, next one. Oh, tell us about this thirst trap story. This was great.
Yeah, sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat there. So, okay, so title in a New York Post article is "Liking Social Media Thirst Traps Now Grounds for Divorce." But here's the punchline: a Turkey or Turkish court rules.
Right.
So not in the United States, but I guess Turkey still follows this a fault-based system for divorce. And so, just give me 1 second, okay, as we do this. Just pause for a second here.
Yeah, sure. Hang on there, folks.
So,
Rahul's getting organized.
Technical difficulty. Yep, exactly. So anyway, basis of this is that this guy was on Instagram, or name your social media flavor of the month, online liking women's posts. He was he breached his quote unquote, as they say, duty of loyalty by interacting with other women's posts. So husband identified as SB and wife HB filed for divorce. And again, this is in Turkey. The court of cassation, the Turkey's highest court, found that, by doing this, he undermined marital trust, because he was repeatedly liking other women's photos online.
Oh boy.
So he, in his defense, claims she, the wife, insulted his father, showed excessive jealousy, and then shared offensive comments online. And ultimately, it says the husband was more at fault and was ordered to pay damages and spousal support. This was, I think, stemming from like an Australian article from the New York Post.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it originally came from news.com from Australia, news.com.au. And they talk about how it contrasts with Turkish law, contrasted with Australian law, which is similar to ours, which is no fault. And
exactly.
Apparently there, the thirst trap liking can be considered part of the fault at damaging the marital relationship. So it actually could impact the outcome. So I just thought this was funny where it said, this is the last line here or near the end. It said, in recent years, social media behavior from, and we always like these trends or these catchphrases that pop up. And this is interesting.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's a good one.
Recent years, social media behavior from likes to DMs has fueled debates about micro cheating, a term coined by Australian psychologist Melanie Schilling to describe small but meaningful acts of betrayal. Schilling described micro cheating as a series of seemingly small actions, this is a quote, that indicate a person's emotionally or physically focused on someone outside of the relationship. Often these acts come to light when one partner starts monitoring the other's digital footprint. So yeah, so be careful out there. If you're in Turkey, don't be liking those bikini photos. You are going to get in trouble. You might get divorced and give them basis to get more than half.
Exactly.
So I just thought that was interesting. What's the so then turning our attention to more technology. This is about AI and divorce. So there was an article recently in the Wall Street Journal about lawyers using AI in court in cases in general, and there's been a lot of press about lawyers getting in trouble for getting incorrect case citations and hallucinated case citations and getting in a lot of trouble, court sanctions for using this stuff incorrectly. And this article from Washingtonian.com, published just recently, December 10th, states, this is by Amy Miller. Some couples are turning to ChatGPT and other AI tools to help navigate a divorce. And it talks about how people are using AI to help filter their communications and check to make sure they're not, bad mouthing the other person, that kind of thing. So they're, before they send an email or a text, they're asking AI, hey, can you soften this or make sure it's okay and not nasty? Yeah. So getting like gut checks for, having AI check what they're going to say. And mentions that the co-parenting app, Our Family Wizard, lawyers recommend to couples to keep a record of messages, expenses, and that kind of thing, and shared calendars. We use it in custody cases where custody is kind of disputed. For years, it's had a tone meter, which detects like nasty language for people and warns them before they send a message. But apparently recently they've launched an AI-driven version that can propose alternative edits that are neutral in tone and take out the nasty stuff. So that's not a bad thing. So that's
not bad.
And one thing that somebody says is, they comment that that's okay, but if people are tensions aren't high and people are getting along okay, it's better to have those direct conversations, actually talking on the phone or talking in person and not filtering it through AI. That's better for, high conflict people. I agree with that. I think there's a high signal to noise ratio, meaning when you communicate face to face or on the phone, the emotions come through much better and you're much more likely to be understood.
Absolutely. And you don't want to use a cookie cutter sort of solution for everybody under the sun. I mean, different people need different solutions for their for their individual relationships. And so the tone meter is super helpful for many people who can't stop, even if it's unintentional, it might just come off as extremely aggressive or otherwise. And for other people, you don't even need Our Family Wizard. You just pick up the phone.
Yep. And that they say, there's a point here made that there's a sterility to the electronic communication. And when it removes the ability to let people feel the emotions, and I think there's a lot of importance to that, like showing that they care about the children, things like that, that the emotional warmth is there, even in the middle of a divorce, that there's positive stuff there. And then what's really interesting is, this lawyer points out, she said this lawyer talks about running into this, and I haven't really seen, we've seen people doing using ChatGPT for helping them write pleadings and when they're self-represented, and that can be real squirrely because ChatGPT doesn't have a legal layer of training. So it comes up with random stuff and it can really backfire. But and we never recommend you use it for legal research and reasoning because it doesn't have that, and it'll make up answers still. So you really need a dedicated legal AI tool like the ones from Westlaw or Lexis or Harvey for that if you're doing research. So
And
it
even
was
then, I
interesting.
would double check.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Check the original cases. The lawyer mentioned in a high conflict custody case, they noticed that the opposing party's written communication drastically changed once litigation started, while which means the written stuff got very nice, but the verbal stuff was still terrible. And the lawyer was able to argue that the opposing party wasn't as cooperative as they appeared in the written documents or in the emails. And so I think that's really interesting that they could say they were literally able to show emails before the litigation and texts that were nasty. And all of a sudden, when the litigation started, they got really neutral and pleasant in tone, showing it really an attack on the genuineness and honesty of the speaker, which is really interesting and
That is
interesting
interesting.
point. So
That's like the reverse of being a keyboard warrior.
Yeah. And the lawyer says the level of cooperation in those emails was a total sham. What ended up happening in court, and the judge was very tuned in, we produced the emails and text exchanges where you could tell the font was just copied and pasted from ChatGPT. It was a formulaic approach. It was very stylistically AI generated. We were able in discovery to make the other party produce what they originally asked ChatGPT. Oh boy. Isn't
But I guess
that
why?
interesting?
It's interesting, but what is the point of all this?
They probably wanted to.
Why were they in court about what the other guy was saying?
I don't know. It doesn't say, but I think it's just
more
interesting.
rhetorical. Yeah. Very interesting.
But what they were showing was the point they were making was the person was saying one thing but doing something else, and a false attempt to show they were being cooperative.
Judge, I want to prove to you this guy's not as nice as he seems.
Yeah. So theoretically, and one thing to mention to people is chatbot histories. When you ask the chats, it saves the chats. Theoretically, they'd be discoverable. So you could say, I want all of your chat history from the inputs you've made and the outputs to see the conversations you've had. So there's a security concern there for you. And it's, people, I'm sure people are using ChatGPT to educate themselves about the law. But again, they need to be very, very careful because it's not trained on, like I said, legal reasoning. It gets things wrong frequently. So someday it might be there. It's just not there today. These general AI tools aren't built for this. So when you type in something like, here's the money I have, here are the assets I have, how would they be divided in Illinois divorce? Get ready for a wrong answer, or be careful. You have no assurance that it's correct.
Exactly.
So
and always double check. I still don't understand how attorneys, are not checking their citations.
Right. That's right. And they do it all the time.
AI is the way of the future. You know that. Rafe is the big AI guy in Illinois, at least at this juncture. So it's sort of like do the bare minimum. Use AI to help you draft. That's what it's there for. Do all that, but check the citations.
Right. You got to be really careful about the case and statute citations you're getting and look at original sources to make sure you've got the right stuff, because these Gen AI tools aren't built for this at this point. They're also not secure. They use their information for training data and stuff like that. So you're putting private information in there. You can't assume it's secure like you can with the legal AI tools that are dedicated for this purpose.
Where you have your own space where it doesn't use to train its models. And a lot of people, for you guys who don't know that, whatever you're using, whatever you're going onto your standard ChatGPT website, ChatGPT learns from that. That's what it's called, training. It looks at what you're saying. It looks at the way you're asking the questions. It looks at the solutions that come up, and it sort of helps itself get better.
And how you react to that.
And how you react to that. That's how it learns how to speak like a human. You're like, oh, this AI is so realistic. Well, it's because millions of people are interacting with it every day that it's learning from.
Right.
So...
And also, there is a button you can switch to turn off the training data, that it won't use your information for training. You have to go into the settings.
And it might only be in the paid version. I don't know if it'll be on the free version.
Oh, that could be true. I have the paid version of ChatGPT.
Right.
Yeah. But just for everybody to know, if you're running Claude, Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini, these aren't secure tools for your personal data. So be careful about don't put social security numbers in there, personal stuff. It's not secure, and the terms of service warn you of that, but you need to know that. So they can be useful tools, but ultimately you should rely on your attorney and their legal advice. And if you do get legal research type answers, you need to verify them with original sources. Okay. So,
And let me just add one line to that, since I
yeah,
see this coming up, once in a while here.
sure.
If your attorney says one thing and AI says or ChatGPT says another thing, I mean, your mileage may vary depending on who your attorney is, but I'd venture to guess your attorney's probably more right than the AI is,
Yeah.
because I've had conversations with people who've said, well, I was told X, Y, and Z could happen, and so you sort of start asking them questions. Well, who told you this? Did you ask for a second opinion? And by all means, you're more than entitled to a second opinion. Different attorneys do things different ways, different
Right.
strategies. That's why lawyers have jobs. It's like it's not a computer program. There's many different ways to get to a solution. So it's like, no, well, I asked ChatGPT. Well, there's a problem, right? Because ChatGPT A doesn't have the whole sort of universe of everything that's going on in the case, and B, it pulls, again, it's pulling from sources which may or may not be accurate, may or may not be applicable to your issue at hand, etc. So if in the legal framework you have a lawyer, uh, check with your lawyer what the answer is, and if you feel like it's
Right.
very different than what AI is telling you, like pulls apart, then talk to another lawyer,
Yeah. Talk to two
get a
other,
second opinion.
exactly. Get a consultation with a couple other lawyers. ChatGPT doesn't have malpractice insurance. ChatGPT is not bound by any ethics rules. And ChatGPT and these other AI tools are designed to please you, which means they will tell you with 100% confidence whatever they say it with so much confidence that you believe it.
That you
And
believe it. They don't tease and please like we do. They just
yeah,
please.
and it doesn't say, like, remember we talked about prenups where we said, look, there's a 5% chance. Well, it'll just happily tell you that you could blow the prenup up, or maybe you could knock it out. Well, it doesn't, you can't sue it, so it doesn't care. It doesn't have
Right.
its reputation on the line. So
Right.
it's, are these tools improving? Yes, dramatically. Early on, when ChatGPT's first version came out, it didn't know Illinois child support at all. It got the law completely wrong. I checked it. It's getting it right now, meaning it at least can tell you what the law is. It talks about income shares and the way that Illinois does it. But would I ask it to calculate child support based on X and Y income? And no, hell no.
No way.
It's not ready for that. It doesn't have that. It's going to take a wild ass guess based on, it's basically a really, really fancy Cuisinart.
Right.
Well, combined with the text prediction system. So they stuff the entire internet and everything into it and can make logical connections between it. And a lot of the answers are very, very good that it gives. I know because I use it every day, but it's not ready for prime time with legal, especially real life cases. Lawyers are getting in trouble every day, big trouble, for thinking it's ready for prime time too. Lawyers, not even civilians, like regular folks. So if lawyers are getting into trouble, believe me, individuals are getting in trouble too. And they're getting their pleadings. The self-represented folks are getting pleadings thrown out of court. They're getting sanctioned, which means like financial penalties. So we're not afraid of AI. We use it all the time. It's a valid tool, but the legal AI tools that are trained specifically for that purpose are really the only things that are reliable at this point for research. So just be careful.
Yep.
And there's a value in having lawyers help you with things. You don't have to spend a fortune to have a consultation and get a second opinion. So thank you. Okay, let's talk about this. Why are divorce rates down? So Rahul, Mike Girdley is a guy I follow on X, a smart business owner.
Yeah.
He has good content and he talks about interesting things. And he said, this post was a few days ago. My conspiracy theory is divorce rates are down because so many social media posts show the adult dating scene as hell, which I thought was funny. And then there were a bunch of comments. One was like, one woman said, my theory is fewer couples are getting married. The ones who are might be more vulnerable, or the ones more vulnerable to divorcing are just cohabiting, which ties into our previous story. They're together 5 to 7 years and break up, but it's not a divorce because there's no marriage. And you and I have talked about that potentiality before. And then there's a bunch of funny posts here. Some people challenge the stat. Some people say housing is too expensive. That's why they're not getting married. So Rahul, And here's one: or cheating in open relationships are up, and people are getting smarter about cost of divorce and staying married as financial benefits. That's kind of interesting. So then somebody says, I think it's economics. So Rahul, what's been? Let's talk about our take on the show.
Yeah.
We've talked about this probably 5 to 10 times on this show in different forms, right? So
Yes.
what's your take from this? Like, okay, if let's assume marriages are down, right?
Or
Is it
divorces,
be-
you mean?
Oh yeah, divorces are down. Is it because the dating scene is hell, as Mike Girdley says, and we know about that, or we're seeing that?
Well, I think the people who think the dating scene is hell are probably sort of contemplating divorce to begin with, and so it was sort of one of those like self-selecting things. You're not, going into a happily married couples thing, life, and saying, "Well, have you thought about divorce?" Oh yeah, yeah, but but dating scene sucks, so we're still married. No, I don't think that's the case, right? I think this is more
Yeah,
people. I think there's some sense of a little bit of sarcasm, maybe, or some sort of uh joking sort of
yeah,
a take on this, but at the same time, marriages are probably down or they are down, which kind of results in a lower actual divorce number. Now, the percentage of divorces compared to marriages, uh, y- you know, I think a lot of that doesn't have to do with the dating scene as much as probably the economics of it, sort
yeah,
of to uh, tie into the story from previously. You said getting married gives you that financial security. This is that financial security people are talking about, which is why they don't want to get divorced, which is the economics behind it. Now, people say, well, the dating scene sucks. And so, I mean, sure, people who are thinking about getting divorced say the dating scene sucks, so they haven't pulled the trigger
yeah.
versus people who haven't thought about divorce at all.
Yeah, it's to me, it's kind of like you're not staying married because the dating scene is scary. That's not enough to keep people married. If their marriage is making them unhappy and they've tried things and they can't make it work, they'll go out there and take their chances. Uh, you know, it's,
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree with you that the factors you mentioned, it's a combination of all those things. People waiting to look, the Gen X and the boomers made marriages look rough because the divorce rates went way up, and there are a lot of children of divorce out there who saw their parents split up and they thought it was terrible, so they're worried that's going to happen to them, so they don't get married or they avoid it or defer it. We know people are getting married older, more intentionally. There's also this common belief that it's expensive to be married, and which I always think is counterintuitive, because isn't it cheaper to team up and
Hmm.
share expenses?
Yeah.
you know
Everything is half as expensive or twice as expensive, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're instead of living in an apartment by yourself, you have a permanent roommate. So, that's if you get along with them, that's not bad at all. So, yeah, so I think it's all these things combined. There's probably a financial aspect, there's a social aspect, and a zeitgeist thing where people are scared of getting married because they fear divorce. Again, they don't want to get in the car because they're worried about crashing. Um,
Right. Exactly.
and so so why the divorce rates are down? Well, we know statistically the marriage rate is down. We know people are getting married older and more intentionally. They tend to stay married longer. So there are some positive things, and in my opinion, some negative things, like people just living together, because I think marriage benefits children too, ultimately.
Hmm.
So I'm a believer. I tell people I like it so much. I've been married. I've done it twice, and it. But so they say, "Oh, sure, you're." My favorite thing is in social when they say, "Sure, you're pro marriage because you want more divorce clients." I'm like, that is the longest business funnel, the longest marketing funnel ever. So I'm going to promote marriage in the hopes of getting more divorce cases. What, 5 to 7 years from now? Like
Right. On average, yeah,
yeah,
that's a long play.
yeah. Even though this is the world's #1 divorce podcast, I am not going to get enough people to get married in Illinois, in the Chicago area, by
Hmm.
me pitching marriage as a social good.
For it to make a tangible difference in
Yeah, to get more divorce
in
clients 5 to 7 years
work.
from now, right? Yeah, that's a long play, folks. I'm
Yeah.
getting older. All right. Anyway, that
Where
was
where will
funny.
you be 7 years from now? Well, I'll be divorcing the listener of this
I
podcast
don't know.
7 years from now, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
right. Just remember us then, folks, if things go sideways. Um, so, okay, before we go into the last couple of bits here, a word from our sponsors. So, STG Divorce Law in Chicago is how smart, successful people get divorced in Chicagoland. And Rahul and I both work for STG Divorce Law. We've been in business for over 30 years, serving smart, successful people around Chicagoland. We do divorce better. Check us out at stgdivorcelaw.com. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention my best-selling divorce book, I Just Want This Done, How Smart, Successful People Get Divorced Without Losing Their Kids, Money, and Minds, available on Audible, Kindle, where else? Amazon, and where all great ebooks are sold for you Nook fans, you Apple Books people, I know you're out there, and also available on hardcover, fancy hardcover at Barnes & Noble. So thanks for that. And also my next book, I Just Want to Know, How Smart, Successful People Decide on Divorce Without Fear, Uncertainty, and Doubt, coming soon to the same places. Much more on that soon. The draft is done. It's being edited as we speak. I'll have to record the audiobook and all that, but it's very exciting. It is a book to help you decide on whether to get divorced. I don't decide for you. I give you all the tools to help guide you through the process. It's the book I wish I had when I was struggling with the decision to stay married or get divorced. Even though I was a divorce lawyer for many years, I was clueless about how to navigate the decision-making process before the divorce. Because even if you're a divorce lawyer, if it hasn't happened to you before, it is totally unfamiliar territory. So I take all the reading I've done, all the research I've done, the self-examinations, the tests I did, stuff I learned from counselors, and I condense it into one book with no steps skipped, A to Z, the process to follow to walk you through it. So check it out, coming soon. I Just Want to Know. Okay. Mr. Iyer, how can people find you online?
People can find me on Instagram at Chicago Divorce and on LinkedIn with my name.
And we've got Rahul right there. His handle's right here on the screen. I'm Rayford Palmer, easy to find at Rayford Palmer on X, Instagram, all the platforms. And also our firm is at STG Divorce Law. We're on YouTube. We're on all the platforms, tons of educational content on the STG Divorce Law YouTube channel. This pod is available on all the major podcast platforms and on video at YouTube if you want to watch our smiling visages for those of you checking out your vocab today. So we're going to move on with the rest of the show. This is part of the fun stuff we're going to get into. So, all right, this is juicy stuff. Rahul, tell us about the Tinder Year in Swipe 2025.
Yeah, so every year Tinder comes out with their year in swipe. I know last year we talked about, how Tinder was. Year in swipe really is obviously you swipe on Tinder. So they kind of had this like, it's like their annual report. It's like their annual, report that they publish to their shareholders.
They take all their data, like the stuff they've gathered from the user data, and it's anonymized. And they say, okay, here's the stuff we found out.
And so Tinder's year in swipe is what this is called. It's called Hope is Hot and Bare Minimum is Not, from clear coding to hot take dating. Tinder presents dating trends for 2026, which we talked about a little bit last time.
Yeah.
With singles showing clarity, confidence, and strong opinions will lead the way next year. So this is from a week ago, December 3rd, 2025. And so they said if 2024 was about intentional dating, 2025 became the calm after the plot. Singles slowed down, showed up, and started saying what they meant. According to Tinder, young singles are heading into 2026 more open, honest, and emotionally fluent than ever, making it the year of no mixed signals.
There we go. That's it, folks. Watch for that. That's the color. That's the Pantone color, which I think they announced it's like some cloud color.
Exactly.
But that's what we're looking for this coming year.
Yep. They talk about no BS. They talk about how the boyfriends are embarrassing moment just raised the bar, which was a viral trend this year. It was essentially, it sounds like it was like a trend or a viral meme that they were just sort of maybe putting them on, in a sort of a cute way on Instagram, showing how they were embarrassing. I don't know. We need to look into that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll check that one
out. But that shift, is changing, or that's shifting. And so we'll link the full report. We don't want to go through everything.
Right. We've got the full report for you linked. Last time we didn't have it, and we got the full thing now.
So check out last week's episode if you want to hear all about all the dating trends in more detail. But really, it's clear coding, which we talked about, when intentions finally come with subtitles. Hot take dating, where attention does come with opinions. Friendfluence is where your besties become became your gut feeling, and they kind of helped you set people up.
Okay.
Emotional vibe coding, where emotional availability is hot and emotional buffering is not.
Okay.
So you got to, So what?
One
Mhm.
thing I wanted to mention, I think is positive for folks who get divorced, and you're talking about the dating scene being horrible or whatever, or the fear that it is. This clear coding is a positive thing because people that are divorced and they're older, they don't want a lot of BS in the dating scene. They want to kind of meet people, find out who might be a good fit for them. And I don't think older folks really want to tolerate a lot of nonsense. And so people being genuine in their communications and dating, I think is a real positive thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
You're
what?
just wasting people's time if you're not.
Yeah, exactly. Kind
in
of
your own.
get to the point there is kind of what it's like. Tell me who you are. Let's be genuine and let's sort of
Yep.
see where this goes.
But don't tell us about, then we talked to this guy's like, you don't have to talk about the Funko Pops and the cosplay and the first date. Okay. You got to wait. That's like once they're
Exactly.
into you, then you say, well, I've got this quirky hobby. And you tell them about that later. Like, I like model trains. That's not a sexy thing to talk about on the first date. It's got, I'm a big fan of trains. You keep that under wraps because that is not something the ladies want to hear about on the first date. They don't need to know your quirky hobbies need to stay on the down low. And you got to talk about the cool stuff. Like, I like surfing. I like sailing, whatever,
Yeah.
The James Bond stuff is always good to roll out on the first date.
That's the cool stuff. And then you get the quirky stuff later, which makes it a little cuter and a good, like, sort of a foil with the machismo things.
Right. Cause they're already into you. So now you can say, oh, by the way, I have Labubus which I just learned about. I have a collection of those, and they're kind of like, oh, that's cute though.
Yeah, exactly.
They already think you're great, so it's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's our.
So you need the foundation. Yep, exactly. You need the foundation, and then you can sort of get to the, as they say in the hierarchy of needs. The foundation can't be Labubu.
No, that's a bad way to go. You can't do that. So build on a solid base before you go to the top. That's our dating advice for you, for the boys out there. So
exactly.
Good luck. May the force be with you. So anyway, that's going to be our show for today. We're out of time, unfortunately. We didn't get to a couple stories. We'll roll them to next week. Lo siento, my apologies. But everybody have a great day out there. Thank you so much. And in the immortal words of George Bush.
If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Oh,
fool me once.
Here we go.
Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Exactly. So anyway, with that said, thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.
All right.